Good day, welcome to Room 442. Lots making the news rounds across the football world. We'll pick 3 stories today and dissect them. So let's see what's making the news. Rapinoe slams deep misogyny in Spanish football after president's kiss. On Football 365, Tottenham make contact over Chelsea flop with £100 million transfer muted. Reuters have Al Nassr Ronaldo reaching the Asian Champions League group phase. It begins in earnest. In the Manchester Evening News, United star Mason Mount to miss the Arsenal clash with injury, plus perhaps more than just that game, by the way. And the BBC is reporting that Alexis McAllister, Liverpool midfielder's red card against Bournemouth, is overturned. I'm joined now by my favourites, Sarah Peraria, Albert Vertanian. Where do we begin here? That's about McAllister. It's so rare that you get a red card overturned. Now, this one was, to me, a brutal call. Not from the referee. Even Klopp said himself he understands why the referee gave it, but VAR should have come in this case and looked at it. But regardless, 3 games he would have missed. No games. That's big for Liverpool.
It's huge for Liverpool. I mean, they haven't been super convincing to me just yet. 2 games in. I know they beat Bournemouth, what was it, 4-1 in the end? But still, I didn't think
3-1.
Was it 3? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I watched that entire game. I wasn't super pleased with their performance, to be honest. So I mean, that's a crucial part for them right now. You know, midfielder starting, but I feel like this goes to show you how VAR's been really all over the place at the start of the season. We've seen really terrible calls, and it's 2 games in.
Yeah, well, it's VAR. What are you going to do? But this is huge for Liverpool because without him in that midfield, I think it would set Liverpool back a bit. Players who just come in like McAllister, Szoboszlai, they need time to gel in that midfield and build that type of chemistry. You're missing a player like that for 3 games who's going to be one of the mainstays in your starting 11. That'd be huge. And they got a tough one coming up too against Newcastle. They're going to need all their star men ready to go.
Well, the next 3 games are Newcastle, Villa, and Wolves, right? So 2 of those games in particular, tricky to say the very least. Lots of cards overall so far handed out to start the season. That would have been the 5th red card of the campaign. Just 4, but that's still a lot more than this time last year as well. So the referees are really on it at the moment. Time wasting is a big thing, but that challenge, definitely not a red card. It's good to see this independent commission getting it right and helping a team that perhaps needs it.
How do you guys feel about the added time now?
Ugh,
players and coaches are complaining about it, but
they're
the ones who are contributing to that.
The Women's
They're
World
main
Cup,
reason.
we saw it. Yeah, I know. And
Stop
when you're
wasting
seeing
time.
13, 14 minutes
But
post-game.
it's not just time wasting. It's when they score a goal and you celebrate, which you should do in football. That's being added to it. It's not them rolling around and trying to get the foul. It's it's subs. It's every little thing. So that's where I draw the line, because I totally get it. If there's injury time and you're on the ground, all of a sudden I got the knock in the knee. We all know that. We know they're trying to waste time there. This I understand, but they are counting every little second where there's time being wasted. And it's frustrating because we've already seen these footballers play so much football. Now we're seeing almost another 30 minutes per game.
That's key.
Why do you think everyone's tearing their ACL? It's nuts to me. I think it's way too far. They're counting way too much time. Take it easy a little bit.
I think they're still going to tweak and it's going to balance itself out. But players need to understand this is incorporated now. This is a rule. So don't time waste. No one's saying don't celebrate. You still celebrate, but you have to understand the longer you use in terms of milking fouls or pretending that you're hurt, anything that's going to happen, they're going to add on injury time as much as they can.
What bugs you the most in time wasting? I hate the throw-in time wasting. We saw it on the weekend, actually, with Liverpool.
Yeah.
Trent Alexander-Arnold got a yellow card for it, right? That always annoys me. Obviously, the injuries, but at the same time, like you mentioned, these guys are playing a lot of football. It's extremely hot right now across Europe as well. These guys do need rest as well. We saw at the Women's World Cup. It happened there. The Men's World Cup in December, the same thing. We shouldn't be surprised by it. But, I mean, listen, if you're going to make these guys play so many games, 90 minutes at that pace, it's impossible.
Yeah.
They need to manage that a little bit, I think.
Yeah, a lot of players and coaches. Okay, listen, it'll be people coming up from both angles. Because if you're down 2-0 and you get 10 minutes, 11 minutes of injury time in the second half, you're going to be happy with it. The other side won't be.
Yeah.
So it's you're damned if you do, damned if you don't at the minute.
Maybe it should
Premier
be
League referees.
You focus on the time added later in games. That's when it really annoys me, when it seems up 1-0 and they start trying to kill the game off. That's not fair. When you're sanctioning players in the first half for time wasting. Like, are they really time wasting at that point?
No,
I'm not entirely sure they are.
Yeah, no, I think that's a bit more fair. I think at the beginning of the match, unless there's like a massive injury, usually that kind of stuff doesn't happen. But yeah, I think it's insane. Barcelona's first match was 26 minutes of extra time.
Yeah, it's insane.
Like, what are we playing at penalties here? Are we playing in a tournament style game? Like, I don't know. This to me, it's just concerning because we've seen the injuries and it's week 2, week 3 of the club football kind of commencing. So I'm nervous. I'm nervous for like October prime Champions League time. Half these players aren't going to be playing. Like, I hope they do, knock on wood, but it's too much football.
It'll balance itself out. And also, listen, I mentioned this to you off the air. Callum Wilson and Mikel Antonio have a podcast. And Callum Wilson was talking about, listen, if I'm coming off the bench in the second half, I know I'm probably going to get 45 minutes because of added time,
right?
Which means more goals. So strikers look at it differently. Teams who are losing and teams who are winning.
Did Antonio agree?
And yeah, he started laughing. He was like, "Yeah, for sure." I mean, you have to look at that way.
I love that podcast.
It's a great podcast
because you've got two players on different teams.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
right. Who should be enemies, right? Right?
No, I know. No. They're not. It's great. But Antonio also said, listen, if we're down 5-0 to Manchester City and there's 10-minute added time in the second half, I'm walking off the pitch.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Yeah.
So I understand them. So it's coming out from both angles. I think eventually we're going to see it normalized to, I don't know, who knows, 5-6 minutes or something like that.
You know who should be doing a podcast, and maybe he is, and that's Romelu Lukaku, because he's so well-spoken, big opinions, great opinions. There's rumours today, Bertie, that your Tottenham Hotspur might be eyeing Lukaku, who currently is still a Chelsea player, obviously played into Milan last year, wasn't too great, a lot of injuries, obviously was great prior to that at Inter Milan. Okay, first of all, Lukaku, we can all acknowledge he's an excellent player. Where's the best fit? Because Juve's mentioned, Inter Milan's mentioned, Saudi Arabia's mentioned, Chelsea's mentioned, Spurs are mentioned. I mean, look at the odds here. Still Juve's the big favourite. It's been this way all summer long. To me, there's a fit at Chelsea, right, Sarah? What do Chelsea need more than anything right now? Striker. A big target man.
He hates Chelsea, though. He doesn't want anything to do with it. I think if he goes back to Chelsea, there's a mentality issue. The player doesn't want to play there. It's public knowledge, and that's a bit of it's a sticky situation. You can't just throw someone who's openly said, like, I wasn't happy there. I want to stay at Inter Milan. Like, Milan is my home. I think that's a bit of a weird fit. I almost see him more so at Juve, staying in Italy. But that's also weird because massive rival of Inter. Like, I know I just saw those odds, but Inter, like, the least favorites there.
Right. I don't understand what happened to Lukaku that last season with Chelsea. He was a disaster. Remember there was that one game where he had 2 touches or something, and they were both at kickoff? So, listen, I think he's still an excellent player. He's one of these guys who's pure confidence, and he needs to be loved.
Yeah.
He needs to be loved by the manager. He needs to be loved by his players. He also needs to be the main man. If we think about his best seasons, I mean, outside of the one he had with Inter, with Lautaro Martinez, it's Everton, it's Manchester United, specifically under Mourinho, who he loves. I know Roma are linked too, but he's always talked about Mourinho. It's like, Mourinho, he told me exactly what he needed from me, and I'd run through a wall for him. So I like the Lukaku Roma thing because of the Mourinho kind of bromance that they have there. But for Spurs, I just don't know if it makes sense. He's making $325 a week, £325,000 a week.
Just destroy their pay scale.
Exactly.
What about a loan deal, though?
So
when they recoup some
the
money?
way it would work, I think, is a loan deal, maybe to any team, loan deal, and they take a percentage of his wages for Lukaku. But there's no doubt this guy can score 20-plus goals in a league, right?
The Saudi teams, they're lurking there as well.
Of course.
I don't know Lukaku at all. I've heard him speak numerous times, speak so well. I don't think he's the kind of player to go to Saudi Arabia just yet.
Well, you didn't think Jordan Henderson was either.
Well, that's a really great point, Sarah. Shut up.
Damari Gray just went there.
I can see that one.
Yeah, random. But it's just out of nowhere. You just see these guys popping up. I could see him going there. But
it's hard, right? We've talked about it with how much money you might be getting. Like, who knows? I agree with you. I know what you're saying about Lukaku, but I mean...
He's so thoughtful. He's a good guy. He's an advocate.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. Speaking of advocates, Megan Rapinoe has been speaking out regarding the whole Luis Rubiales kiss at the World Cup trophy presentation with Jenny Hermoso. She is extremely unhappy about it, as you'd expect. She's been calling him all sorts of names. Ellie, if you want to roll the board in there, she says, what kind of upside down world are we in on the biggest stage where you should be celebrating? Jenny has to be physically assaulted by this guy. It made me think about how much we are required to endure Think how much the Spanish team had to shoulder. Some of the players who stood up way back last year still aren't on the team. Maybe that was something that galvanized them, but you shouldn't have to have that. Now, Rubiales is being criticized by now the Prime Minister of Spain, Pedro Sanchez, calling it totally unacceptable what he did. We saw him celebrate the win and the goals and grabbing his crutch beside the Queen of Spain. This is the head of Spanish football. And, I don't want to jump on the bandwagon here, but given what's happened to the Spanish women's team over the last year or so, and how that federation looks at them and how they look at the federation, optically, you cannot keep this guy around. Forget the coach for a second here. But you can't keep this guy around, can you?
No, I don't think so. And I think that's exactly what the RFEF need to do. They need to get rid of him. They need to get rid of Jorge Vilda, because now he's won a World Cup. Like, take it and go. And they need to kind of restart again. Spanish football has been prominent for, we know, so many years. The talent is there. They're able to win. We know that it has nothing to do with the players, but behind the scenes, this looks so bad for Spain. Like, it really does. And when you have two teams, like in the last 20 years, we've seen the men win, we've seen the women win, and like this kind of stuff is coming up. Like, this is supposed to be a dominant football nation. You cannot be like this. This is horrendous. Not that, sorry, I want to make it clear that if this was happening at, a smaller nation or something, it makes it okay. But I'm just saying, like, Spain are one of the biggest footballing nations in the world. Like, you think they'd be way more on this. I'm still kind of confused about the whole situation.
I am too. I'm happy that you said that, because I am too.
Because we were speaking about this Monday after the women won, after this came out, but then Hermoso came out with a message saying, we have a super good relationship. It was the heat of the moment. We were just emotional. Like, I'm really happy. Like, we won and that should be the focus, but like everything's good with me and him. But then yesterday it surfaced that was promoted by the Spanish Football Federation and it was kind of put through by them. So in a way, though, I'm also kind of like, I don't want her to necessarily say anything because I want her to be basking in her glory right now. Like,
that's
she
the treasure
shouldn't.
Part of this.
Even if she, like, if this is to her, like, if this wasn't a big deal and she's like, this is my buddy, I don't care, whatever. It's so frustrating that this is what's being dealt with, and that's like a big picture as well. Like, he needs to get out of there. But I feel bad that regardless of if she thought this was an okay situation, she wants to focus on her win. But I still don't know if it was an okay situation.
Yeah, who knows? And even if it was, if she came out like clearly and sent that video out on social media and said, this is all good, don't worry about it, we have a great relationship, somebody out there in the world that we live in is going to raise their hand and say something about it and turn it into an issue and turn it into a news story. Right? So regardless, like if she liked it or didn't like it, this was still going to be a news story that unfortunately it is overshadowing this team winning a World Cup.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's a horrible situation.
It's your federation head.
Yeah.
Overshadowing.
Of course.
His federation's one of their proudest moments.
Yeah.
Right. Optically, it looks terrible. There has been an extraordinary General Assembly called by the federation to discuss this. So
not good.
Things could be keep moving, I think, in
maybe
Spanish
in a
football.
good way. Listen, Spain won the World Cup with all of this going on and having to deal with the issues with their coach. We spoke about this, I think, on Monday. The fact that they didn't even have a full strength team.
The top goalkeeper wasn't there.
Let's go then. Maybe if they clean it out, everyone will want to come back and play. They'll be even in better headspaces and they'll be playing even better football.
Yeah, it's sad. The majority of people now will know more about the Spain team for this situation than them actually winning the World Cup.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be interesting to say the least. I'll tell you this much: if they clean house and bring the players back who should be back, and then they don't win Euro in a couple of years' time,
okay, relax.
Finger pointing, but hey, I know it's just a sordid saga, and optically looks terrible, and we'll see what happens in the next few weeks.
Yeah,
it's something. All right, the Prem is back, by the way, on Friday. Chelsea up against Luton. Please, if you haven't already, sign in to 442picks.ca just to make fun of Albert Vertanian, who one weekend is struggling mightily.
Okay.
We'll break down our picks again for you tomorrow ahead of the Chelsea-Luton game on Friday. But you could win potentially $250,000. We're giving away weekly and monthly prizes as well. Room 442 is brought to you by North Star Bets. That's a win.